Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Doc Ed Padama, and this time in this video discussion I will be sharing with all of you another template guide that I created focusing on the writing of chapter 4, which is entitled Presentation Analysis and Interpretation of Data. And together with this video, I will also be presenting a sample of chapter 4 to see and observe if that particular manuscript were able to implement what we have discussed in how to simplify the approach in writing chapter 4. Before we continue, I would like to remind everyone that this particular video will be using the languages English and Filipino during the duration of this discussion. And again, I would like to invite everyone to please hit and click that subscribe button and click that notification bell to alert you when a new video has been uploaded. Let's start with the terms that we will be using for this discussion, and they are located on the right side of your screen. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go through all of them, and then eventually during our discussion we will be using the following terms. So let's start with the introductory statement. This is a sentence or two, a sentence or more that serves as the opening or beginning of that particular part of your research paper. The primary purpose is to grab the reader's attention and to provide essential background information and set the tone or context for the rest of the writing. So, in summary, the introductory statement will present what the readers will be expecting to read on the preceding part of the research paper. Again, ang introductory statement ay naghahanda at nagpapakilala kung ano yung susunod na mababasa ng mga panel ninyo o yung mga readers ng inyong manuscript sa bahagi na yan ng inyong research paper, in this case dito sa chapter 4. So yun ang trabaho ng introductory statement. Now, when we talk about interpretation, kapag ang pinag-usapan naman natin at ang ginamit natin ay yung salitang interpretation, this is defined as the following. So this refers to the process of analyzing and making sense of the data, since the data type of research that we will be focusing on will be quantitative research. Okay? So since this is quantitative research, the data that we will be using will be numeric data. So this is what we mean by this particular data. Presenting the result of a specific and significant area or domain. So interpretation is making sense of the numeric data. Since it is in the form of a numeric data, we will not be able to make meaning or make an inference based on the numeric data. So we will have to refer this to a table which presents the verbal description of the numeric data. Ang ibig sabihin, itong interpretation ang nagbibigay ng kahulugan doon sa mga numero, sa mga values na makikita ninyo kapag ito ay binigyan na natin ang tinatawag nating verbal interpretation. Kaya kung mapapansin ninyo sa chapter 3, merong isang table doon na nakalagay sa taas ay yung verbal description ng mga ranges ng numeric values ninyo. Dito na ninyo ito gagamitin sa ika-4 na kabanata ng inyong pananaliksik. Okay? Yun yung sinasabi nating interpretation. So, ulitin natin, ang interpretation ay ginagamit para magbigay o bigyan ng kahulugan yung mga numeric values na karaniwan ay nakikita ninyo doon sa mga ipinapakitang table na makikita sa chapter 4. Okay. Yung susunod ay yung tinatawag nating citation. Okay, ang citation naman ay bahagi pa rin ng discussion ng inyong chapter 4. Okay, ano ba ang definition ng citation? Citation refers to the process of acknowledging and referencing the sources of information or ideas. So basically, meron na kayong idea ng citation even in chapter 1. Because in chapter 1, the problem in its background, gumagamit na kayo ng citation but minimal lang ang dapat na lumabas na citation sa chapter 1 ninyo, lalong-lalo na sa bahagi ng introduction and background of the study, para magbigay lang ng support at ng evidence na yung binabanggit ninyo doon sa bahagi na yon, yung introduction at background of the study ay talagang totoo. Kung ang argumento ninyo doon ay meron talagang problema na nag-i-exist na may kinalaman sa ganitong issue, bibigyan niyo ngayon ng ebidensya, ng suporta sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng citation. Now, ito namang citation dito ay gagamitin ninyo para suportahan yung mga interpretation na nakita o nagawa ninyo doon na galing doon sa table o sa numeric value sa table. So mamaya makikita niyo yung pagkakasunod-sunod nitong mga terms na ito doon sa diagram na ginawa natin. So yun ang kahulugan ng citation dito sa chapter 4. Ganun din kung paano niyo ginagamit sa ibang kabanata, ibang bahagi ng inyong research paper. Okay, next. Yung susunod naman ay yung tinatawag nating synthesis. Ang synthesis ay yung pagbibigay ng kahulugan sa dalawang variable at bibigyan nyo siya ng analysis, ng conclusion kung saan binabanggit nyo yung kanilang mga differences and similarity ng mga variables na yon. Pero by definition, basahin natin kung anong kahulugan ng synthesis dito. So this refers to the act of combining, pinagsasama ninyo. Pero hindi siya pinagsasama na literal na pinagsasama. Hinahanapan nyo ng commonality, yung dalawang bagay. So ano ang sinisynthesize dito? Sabi dito is the act of combining. So ang sinisynthesize nyo dito sa chapter 4 ay yung findings ninyo, yung findings na nakita ninyo dito sa inyong table at yung citation na kinuha o ginamit ninyo. So, isi-synthesize ninyo itong ginamit nyo, interpretation, at itong citation. Ulitin ko, itong synthesis, sabi niya, ito yung act of combining. So, ang kinukombine nyo dito ay yung interpretation na galing sa table, sa numeric value, at yung citation na binanggit o ginamit ninyo sa inyong discussion. Ang lalabas doon sa paragraph na yon ay yung tinatawag nating synthesis. Okay, next. The last part, a footnote, sabi dito, basahin lang natin, presentation of tables should chronologically follow the specific problems in the statement of the problem. This will appear in our diagram. Makikita nyo ito sa diagram. So meron lang paalala dito na yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng tables na gagawin ninyo sa chapter 4 ay dapat sumunod doon sa pagkakasunod-sunod ng statement of the problem, yung specific problem sa SOP ninyo. So kung halimbawa ang statement of the problem ninyo tatlo at merong mga domains yun o sub-areas, yun din dapat ang susundin ninyo kapag kayo ay nag-present ng inyong mga tables. Okay, tignan na natin ngayon yung tinatawag nating diagram, template, guide para dito sa pagsusulat ng chapter 4. So naalala ninyo kanina yung paalala doon sa footnote na yung mga table presentation ninyo, ito halimbawa, meron kayong table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4. And kung meron pa mga susunod. Itong mga tables na ito should follow the sequence ng specific problems ng inyong SOP. Okay? So halimbawa, ang specific problem 1 ninyo, merong dalawang domain. Meron dyan specific problem 1, meron siyang dalawang domain. So, it is 1.1 and 1.2. So, kung may dalawang domains yan, usually, ang table na gagamitin nyo, dalawa din. Table 1 and table 2. Na ang reference ninyo ay yung specific problem 1. Yun yung paalala na ibinibigay kanina. So, ganun din ulit yung mga susunod. Kung yung specific problem 2 ninyo, merong dalawang domain, so yung table ninyo dapat susunod doon sa problem ninyo, which is SOP2. So meron siyang dalawang domain and meron dapat dalawang table na naka-arrange yan. So depende kung ano yung 2.1 ninyo, ito yung table 3 ninyo. Kung ano yung 2.2 ninyo, ito yung magiging table 4 ninyo. So basically, yun lang yung arrangement. So ang pinag-uusapan natin dito ay yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng table at ito, sabi natin, ay dapat sumunod doon sa pagkakapresent ng tinatawag nating specific problems. Now, punta na tayo dito sa chapter 4. Pag pinag-usapan natin ang chapter 4, usually, kung makikita nyo, yung pinaka-outline yan, meron lang siyang introductory statement dito na dinefine na natin kanina. Sabi natin, ang introductory statement ay nagpapakilala kung ano yung mga makikita doon sa susunod na bahagi ng inyong kabanata, ng ika-4 na kabanata na chapter 4. So yun lang yung laman ng introductory statement. Usually, the introductory statement may contain 2 or more sentences. Okay na yon, kaya nang gawin yun sa introductory statement. And then, paggawa nyo ng table, okay, so halimbawa ito ay table 1, tapos may title yung table ninyo, immediately after the table, pagka-present ninyo, kung ano man yung lumabas na result ng table ninyo, numeric yan na naka-table. Sa ibaba nun, yun na yung interpretation. So, binanggit na natin dito kung ano yung interpretation. Ito yung pagbibigay ng kahulugan dun sa mga numeric values na nandun sa table ninyo. Kaya dapat immediately sa ibaba ng table makikita ninyo. Okay? Ipe-present din dyan yung tinatawag nating verbal interpretation ng table ninyo. Pagkatapos ng interpretation, to continue, another paragraph siguro will be citation if ever nagagamit kayo ng citation. So, hindi naman siya required. Pero kung gagamit kayo ng citation, therefore, yun yung susunod na part. After the interpretation, you can already integrate and inject yung citation na gagamitin ninyo. And then the synthesis will come on the last part of that particular table. So you synthesize the citation together with the interpretation na ginamit ninyo. Okay, so this particular process na diniscuss natin will only be repeated on the preceding table. So kung ano yung binanggit natin at pinag-usapan natin sa table 1, uulit lang yan dyan sa mga susunod na table ninyo. Depende kung ilang tables yung gagamitin ninyo. Merong iba gumagamit ng 5, 10, 14, 15. Meron yon, may umaabot ng hanggang 14, 15. Pero my advice is that you try to review your tables. Kung meron namang mga tables na pwede nyong pagsamahin, pwede nyong i-summarize by combining them as much as possible, iwasan ninyo yung napakaraming table sa inyong chapter 4. So nabanggit natin kanina, titingin tayo ng sample ng chapter 4. Tignan natin kung itong simpleng template diagram ay nasunod ba doon sa pagsusulat ng chapter 4 ng sample na ipapakita natin. So punta tayo dito sa ating chapter 4 na sample. This is an actual research. Okay, so the title of chapter 4 is Presentation, Analysis, and Interpretation of Data. And again, based on our discussion kanina, the first part, usually the initial part before the first table, is what we call the introductory statement. So if you're going to look at the content of the introductory statement, sabi natin kanina, magpapakilala ito kung ano yung mga mababasa o susunod na mababasa dito sa chapter na ito. So nakalagay dito, this chapter provides the presentation of, sinasabi niya na, kinukwento niya na kung ano yung makikita dito sa chapter na ito. Will provide a presentation of the statistical data relative to the problem posted. Okay? Okay, next, the corresponding analysis, kasama ito sa ipipresent, analysis and interpretation of data are incorporated in this portion of the study. Again, to remind you and to simplify kung ano yung trabaho ng introductory statement, it has already been embodied in this. So, yun ang makikita. Kung ano yung sinabi dito sa paragraph na ito, yun ang makikita doon sa susunod na bahagi ng chapter 4. So dito, binigyan niya na ng mga pagpapaliwanag itong mga terms na ginagamit niya. So meron siyang diagnostic test which you can do. Pwede niyong gamitin yan maliban doon sa introductory statement. So aside from that, yun lang yung diagnostic test lang yung present niya. Actually, diagnostic test is the area nung statement of the problem niya. So, inuna niya yung diagnostic test, meaning kinumpare niya muna yung performance ng mga students. So, you start with the status or the present status of the respondents na ginagawa niyo ng research. So, yun yung reason kung bakit niya ginamit yung term ng diagnostic test referring to table 1. So kung makikita nyo dito, again, table 1, I do not know if you remember our discussion. If you're going to use the term table or yung tables 1 and so on, it should be located on top of the table. Okay? And then kapag figure, it should be at the bottom of the figure. So in this case, again, that's just a reminder. So table 1, you have the title of the table, the diagnostic test, and then you have the values. Ito yung sinasabi natin, yung mga numeric values there. And then here, meron naman siyang verbal interpretation, which is the following. But there should be an equivalent range dito which is found in chapter 3. So ang gagawin niya, present niya lang yung verbal description and then yung score and then yung range. And then at the bottom, doon sa unang discussion niya, which is what we call the interpretation, ito sabihin na kung ano yung diniscuss natin kanina. So presentation ng table and then the interpretation. Okay. So, the interpretation, as you can see, kumukuha siya ng mga values dito sa nakita o i-present dito sa table. If you have a lot of values, numeric values na nandito, my advice is to get the top, the first, or the highest. Okay? The highest value. And then, to contrast, pwede niyong kunin yung lowest naman. Okay? Now, if you need to emphasize, siguro pwede nyo gamitin yung highest, lowest, and second to the highest. Yung first, second, and yung lowest. Okay? To make a point. Depende kung anong point yung gusto nyong gawin, pwede nyo kunin yung pinakamataas, pinakamababa, and yung median. Okay? Those are the three values that at least you can use if you are going to interpret dito sa part ng table na ito. So we're already on the part of the interpretation. Now, as you can see, sabi niya in table 1, kumuha siya ng value, ito yung numeric value, ito yung percentage niya, and then supposed to be, dapat lalabas yung tinatawag nating verbal description. Okay? So, tignan natin kung ginamit niya yung verbal description dito. Okay, if we're going to browse, ito, meron siya. Interpreted as poor. Ito, lumalabas. Okay, so there is a particular range na ginagamit. Ayan, halimbawa 0 to 10, interpreted as poor. So, merong particular range na nakaset yan. And then, together with that range, makikita mo doon sa table yung equivalent verbal description niya. Ito yon. Okay? So, kasama yan dito sa tinatawag nating interpretation. Okay, next. Again, this is still part of the interpretation. And we'll try to see kung gumamit siya ng citation. So, in this case, nasa table 2 na siya, and this is the title of table 2, test of significant difference. And again, if you observe, hindi siya gumamit ng citation. There is no citation used because there is no need to use citation. Ulitin natin, it is not a requisite na gumamit ng citation in every part of your discussion. Ang citation gagamitin ninyo, ilalabas nyo lang yan. You will use citation if you want to prove a point, if you want to support something that is being presented in your table. That is the time na gagamitan nyo ng citation. At kapag kayo gumamit ng citation, automatic yan, susundan nyo ngayon nung tinatawag nating synthesis. Okay? So basically, we have already tried to analyze the first table and sabi natin kanina, this will be the same doon sa mga preceding tables ninyo. But we'll try to see kung merong part na gumamit ng citation at ng synthesis in the other tables na titignan natin. So here, wala kayong makikitang mga citations na ginamit. Okay, as except this one. Ayan o, di ba? So this is table number 3. After presenting the table, the interpretation, and then this one, meron siyang gustong i-emphasize, the result prove that though number and number sense is part of the curriculum in elementary, still majority of the students lag behind. Ito yung point na gusto niya eh. So aside doon sa nakita niya sa table, gusto niya pang suportahan niya ng citation. Na may mga students pa rin, karamihan pa din daw ng mga students, lag behind doon sa pag-aaral ng mathematics. Okay? So, ayan o, as revealed by the study Altar 2015, mathematics is still one of the fields in which most Filipino students show poor performance. Again, to support yung claim nung nakita niya sa table regarding this one. Diba? So, dito, hopefully, yan. Ang problema lang, hindi siya nag-present ng synthesis. Meron siyang citation, pero hindi niya na follow up ng synthesis. But basically dito makikita niyo naman parang nag-discuss siya nung nakita niya sa table tapos nag-cite siya. Parang ano naman na similar na siya. So hopefully if you can at least kahit isang sentence, you can follow it up with a common denominator nung citation and doon sa nakita nyo sa table and synthesize, it will improve yung discussion ninyo. Okay? Para makita talaga ng mga nagbabasa, tama, related nga siya doon sa discussion ninyo. Pero dito kasi parang even without the synthesis, nakikita naman na common naman yung kanyang nakita doon sa kanyang table at dito kay Altar 2015. So basically, this is how you approach the writing of chapter 4. So I hope you were able to learn something from our discussion, which is the use of this template guide in writing chapter 4, which is entitled Presentation, Analysis, and Interpretation of Data. Again, please spread and share this video discussion to your friends, to your group mates, to your classmates, to your peers, so that they will have an idea para magkaroon lang din sila ng awareness na merong mas simpleng paraan ng pagsusulat ng iba't ibang bahagi ng inyong pananaliksik. So in other parts of your research paper, may mga na-develop na din akong template in other parts. You can access that in my YouTube channel at Doc Ed Padama. I created another template guide this time in writing chapter 5, the summary of findings, conclusion, and recommendations. So this will be very helpful to students and research writers who are already in this part of their study. So before we proceed, again, let me remind everyone who are listening and watching to this particular video discussion that we will be using Tagalog and English throughout the discussion of this particular topic. So if you are not yet familiar with how you should compose and how you should write your chapter 5, the summary of findings, conclusions, and recommendations, this will be the perfect guide for you. Again, if you want to use this template, as part of your report in your class, or you would like this video to be a supplemental material in helping your discussion in writing chapter 5, please do take note of what is written at the bottom in the fine print. No part of this material may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, or otherwise without a prior written consent from the owner. So this means that if you would like to use this particular template and discussion, including this particular video, please do not hesitate to send me a message or an email asking permission, and then just wait for my written consent, and I will definitely give it to you, especially if you will be using this for educational purposes, whether you're a student or a teacher. Okay, so aside from that, in this particular video, I will also be giving you an actual example of a manuscript of a study that has already been completed, so that you will be able to compare the template or the template guide which I will be presenting to the actual output, which is an actual research paper that has already been defended. So let us start with the following parts of chapter 5. So chapter 5 is basically divided into 3 parts, and these are the findings, conclusion, and recommendation. But in your manuscript, you should start chapter 5 with what we call the introductory statement. So the introductory statement presents the simplest part of chapter 5, or any chapter for that matter, is the introductory statement. So when we talk about introductory statement, this just simply means that you need to present an introductory statement that informs the reader about the content of the chapter. Ano ang laman ng chapter na ito? Yun lang. You can do this in 1 to 3 sentences. Again, this is a very simple and direct part of your manuscript for chapter 5. Just present or inform the reader about the content of this particular chapter. Okay, so you may state or write that this chapter will present the following. O sabihin nyo na the summary of findings, the conclusion, and recommendation. If you want to add other than that, just make sure that you do not overdo it, na masyado nang humaba yung discussion. Okay? So, that's the first part. Again, let's mark that. So, that is the introductory statement. The next part of chapter 5, and we will be using the following, is the findings of the study. What are the findings of the study, or the summary of findings? So, this is the second part. The purpose of the following arrows is that for you to be able to trace the basis for every part. So in this case, when we talk about the findings of the study is based on chapter 4, based on this arrow. Again, when you write the findings of the study, always remember that the content of the findings of the study should be based on chapter 4. Let's start with the first one. The findings should present the specific problems. So you go back to chapter 1 and you just copy-paste in toto the SOP, or specifically the specific problems that you wrote or you printed in chapter 1. The specific problems. So the specific problems will be your guide in this following part of your manuscript. So restate the specific problem. For example, SOP number 1, and then immediately at the bottom of SOP number 1 will be the next part, which is the summary of the interpretation coming from chapter 4. Okay, again, after presenting the specific problem number 1, immediately present the summary of the interpretation coming from chapter 4. Chapter 4 contains the result of the statistical analysis if you use the quantitative method. Okay? So if you use the quantitative method, you will implement a statistical formula, statistical analysis, and then you will be presenting tables in chapter 4, and then immediately after the table, it will come with the corresponding interpretation or narrative interpretation of that table. So here, after stating the specific problem or the first specific problem, present the summary of the interpretation coming from chapter 4, which corresponds to the specific problem. So kung ano yung specific problem dito, kunin nyo yung result dito sa chapter 4. Later on, I am going to show you an example of what we are discussing right now. Okay? So, that is the second part of the findings. Okay, now, the second part of number 2 with the corresponding numeric values. So, you have the interpretation. The interpretation should include the numeric values and their verbal description. The numeric values and the verbal description. Both of these are again included in chapter 4. That is why summary of findings of chapter 5 is based or taken from chapter 4, based from the results that were presented in chapter 4. The third part under the findings, use citations and relate the findings. Again, just like the introductory statement, you can use citations here, but do not overdo it. Do not flood this part with citations. The purpose of the citation is to reinforce your finding. Again, the purpose of the citation in this part is to reinforce your finding. So, most probably the citation proper for this particular part are studies. So, use previous studies that you can relate to the result of your finding or to the findings of your study or the result of chapter 4. Okay, so these are the three things that you need to remember when you are writing the findings of the study. Again, I will try to compare this with the actual example that we have later on. So we will just go and finish the other or remaining two parts of this particular chapter. The next part is what we call the conclusion. The conclusion of this particular chapter should be based, referring to the arrow, should be based from the findings of the study. When you form or formulate your conclusions, it should be based on the findings of the study. Okay, what should be the content of your conclusion? Number 1, the conclusion is a statement of realization based on the findings of the study. It is a realization. Example of a realization, it's a statement presenting what you believe in based on the findings of your study. So example of a realization is that blended learning is not that effective in public schools. That's already a statement. Blended learning is not that effective in public schools. That is a statement. That is a conclusion. Now, if that is your conclusion, make sure that you can back that up with evidence. And that evidence or proof or fact should come from the findings of the study. Kapag kayo nagsabi ng isang statement dito sa conclusion, kailangan meron kayong ebidensya na manggagaling sa findings of the study. That is what we mean by number 1. It is a statement, realization based on the findings of the study. Number 2, in this part of your manuscript conclusion, this should not include or contain any numeric values coming from the findings of the study. So, if this is presented already in number 2 under the findings, this should not be repeated in the conclusion anymore. So this is the common mistakes done or committed in writing the conclusion. A lot of research students still include the numeric values and the interpretation or verbal interpretation of these values in their conclusion. Again, make sure that you do not include them anymore in the conclusion of your study. Okay, again, make sure that all of your conclusion should be based on the findings of the study. The last part is the recommendation of the study. If you observe under your screen, you have two arrows coming from the findings and the conclusion of the study, which is the basis of the recommendation. The recommendation should be written based on the conclusion and the findings of the study. So let us put the numeric marker. So this is the third part, and the fourth part is the recommendation. So again, to reiterate and to emphasize, the recommendation should be based on the conclusion and findings of your study. Do not, again, another reminder, do not include any recommendation that is not part of your specific problem. That is not part of the goal of your study. That is not part of the aim of your study. Again, this is another common mistake wherein students include recommendations that are not supposed to be or not aligned in the objective of the study. Okay, make sure that you are aware of that when you write your recommendation. So under recommendation, number one, the recommendation should strictly be based on the findings and conclusion of the study, as reflected by the arrows at the bottom of your screen. Number two, this should contain the specific action that you want the reader to take, that you want the authority or person in charge to take. Okay? The one who can take the initiative. So you are talking to that particular person. Make sure that you specify the action that you want them to take, that is being recommended. Ano ang gusto mong i-recommend na action na gagawin based from what you have found sa summary of findings and the conclusion of your study. So, it should be clear kung ano yung gusto mong ipagawa. Okay? So, that is what we mean by specific action the action should be specific in your recommendation. And the third is, recommendation should contain the specific focal person. Not only the focal person, but this can also take the form of a department, organization, community, or the like that will initiate the recommended action. So if you have recommended an action, make sure that you also include the focal person, the department, the organization, or the community that would initiate the recommended action. So basically, this is what should be found in your Chapter 5, the summary findings, conclusion, and recommendation. So, as mentioned earlier, we will be looking at an actual manuscript wherein we can check if these are reflected on that particular manuscript. So, we are going to go back and forth and try to see and compare if this is observed in that particular manuscript. So, let us go to this part. This is Chapter 5. Summary of findings, or the summary, conclusion, and recommendation. And then as you can see, before the first part, the summary of findings, there are two paragraphs written here. So again, if you recall in our discussion, the introductory statement, which is this part, okay, should contain or introduce the content of the chapter. Okay, so as you can see, if we're going to go through the first sentence, this chapter presents the summary and conclusion derived in the conduct of the study, which is to, again, the restating of the title or the goal or the aim of the study is also included, which is to identify the effect of Math Talk inquiry-based strategy in teaching mathematics in grade 7 students. So aside from that, this can already be an introductory statement. So aside from that, he still added information or facts based on the conduct of his study. So with or without the second paragraph, the first paragraph is already enough as part of your introductory statement. And as mentioned earlier, the introductory statement presents the information regarding the content of the chapter. Okay. Next, findings of the study. So what can we see under the findings of the study? So as mentioned earlier, the first thing that you need to do is to restate the specific problem. The specific problem here is this one. So it is usually stated with the number of the specific problem and the actual specific problem, which is restated and in bold form. So this is the restated specific problem. So this is also known as the SOP1. Okay, so that is what we mean by restating the SOP. And then immediately below the restated SOP is the result based from chapter 4. So all of these values and discussions are based on chapter 4. So again, as you can see, there are values and there are also verbal interpretations of these values. Okay, there are findings that also use citations. But as we discussed earlier, okay, there is number 3. It is not required that you use citations for every findings of your study. So at least number 1 and number 2, make sure that you observe them. Okay, next, going back to the example, so these are, again, what we have discussed earlier. This is already SOP number 2. Okay, and the result of SOP number 2, this is SOP number 3. And then the result of SOP number 3, you have numeric values and the verbal interpretation. SOP number 4. And then the result of SOP number 4. And then after that, the conclusion part. Okay, so what did we discuss regarding the conclusion? Should be a statement of realization based on the findings of the study, and should not include, let us see if this was observed, should not include or contain any numeric values coming from the findings of the study which was already presented on the findings of the study. It should not be repeated in the conclusion anymore. Okay, going back, in the conclusion, there are no numeric values that were used. Okay, and then let us see if the statement is a realization or in the form of a stated realization. So number 1, the respondents of the non-math talk has almost the same level. This is a claim. This is a realization. This is a statement. Pareho sila ng level. You cannot say this if you do not have proof, which is presented here. Okay, in the summary of findings. That is why you can only make statements, claims like this if you already have proof, which should be reflected in the summary of findings. Again, the findings reveal that students who have undergone the treatment has higher achievement. Again, this is a claim. And you cannot make this claim not unless you have proof based on the summary of findings. So all of these are in the form of claims or statement. The result implies that both of the groups learned is another claim. Okay, the learning gains is to prove that those students learn in either two styles. Students learn better using math talk, another claim in conclusion number 4. Okay, now under recommendation, I think he only has, or the researcher only has 3 recommendations, and then let us review what we discussed under recommendation. So this should be strictly based on the findings and conclusion of the study. Okay, number 2, should contain specific action specific action that is being recommended. So let us try to observe it if there is a specific action in the recommendation that is presented, and it should contain the specific focal person, department, or organization. So let us see if these were observed in the recommendation. Number 1, since the effectiveness of math talk has been proven, teachers is already the focal person, should incorporate, and this is already the action, should include math talk into their classroom teaching and learning process. Okay. Number two, let us see if there is the action and the focal person are reflected in number two. Implementation of math talk in teaching mathematics should be encouraged. Should be encouraged. The action. So again, this is the person, this is the action, this is the action, and who should encourage? The administrators person. Okay? So that we can easily identify the action and the person. Number three, a similar study must be conducted. Conducted is the action. Conducted to a larger group subject to. So who is going to conduct the study? Researchers. Researchers should conduct a similar study. So again, at least you can already identify what needs to be improved if you are already aware of the elements or components of a recommendation. So this one should include future researchers should, if we are going to include this here, you should write future researchers should conduct, and then you continue a similar study. So you already have the action, and then you have the focal person. Okay? So at least you were able to identify the parts of chapter 5, and you were able to check if these were observed in an actual manuscript. So again, I hope you were able to get something out of this template guide that I developed, so you can easily write chapter 5 when you are already in this particular stage of your research writing. Again, there will be recommended videos that will appear on the side of your screen, and then you will see my logo or my photo on the lower right side. Please click the logo or the photo so that you would be diverted to the screen wherein you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to also share our video to your friends, to your colleagues, to your group mates, and to your relatives so that they can also learn a simplified version of writing this particular part of your research paper. Thank you very much, everyone. Keep learning, stay safe, God bless, and I will see you again in our next video discussion. Maraming salamat po. This time, I would like to share with all of you a template guide that will simplify and help you write your research abstract. Before we start with our discussion, I would like to invite everyone to please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Toket Padama and follow my TikTok account with the same name. And if you are still looking for sources or links related to literatures or studies that you would like to use in your research paper, check out our FB page entitled Practical Research. And please do share and like this video. Now again, I would like to remind everyone that this particular video discussion will be done using the languages Filipino and English. So this particular template guide was developed in order to facilitate and help research writers to simplify the process of writing the research abstract. So, papaano ba mapapadali? Papaano nyo ba makikita agad yung mga kailangan nyong isama doon sa tinatawag nating research abstract? But before that, I would also again like to remind everyone that the research abstract can only be written once your research paper has been presented or defended. Again, you will not be able to write the research abstract not unless you have already accomplished your research paper. Again, I would like to emphasize that you will not be able to write your research abstract not unless you have accomplished or finished your research paper. So this is the requirement for you to be able to write your research abstract. So if you are still in the stage of writing your proposal, you have already finished writing chapter 1, chapter 2, until chapter 3, that is not enough. Hindi po yun sapat para makapagsulat kayo ng research abstract. So marami akong naririnig, nakikita at mga testimony ng mga students who are writing their research paper wherein they are still in chapter 1 and yet they have already presented their research abstract. So that is already a clear red flag. It means that you are not aware of what you are writing in your research paper, because that is supposed to be the requirement for you to be able to write the research abstract. Kailangan tapos na yung inyong research paper, meaning it should have been written and defended from chapter 1 to chapter 5. Now, assuming that you have already done that and you have already fulfilled the requirement, now this particular template, writing an abstract, follows a standard structure. This template presents that structure. Ano ba yung mga bahagi, yung laman, yung elemento ng tinatawag nating research abstract para mas madali nyong makita kung ano yung mga kailangan nyong isama, isulat sa inyong research abstract. Kasi maraming nagsusulat ng research abstract, inaabot sila ng 2-3 pages. Napakahaba na po noon kung ganun kahaba ang inyong research abstract. A research abstract can fit into 1 to 2 pages. 2 pages is the maximum number of research abstract. Supposed to be sa isang page, kasya na yung research abstract nyo. So ano dapat ang laman ng inyong research abstract? So let's go to this particular template wherein we will present the following, yung parts na sinasabi natin ng abstract ninyo, yung description ng abstract ninyo, at kung ano yung mga kailangan nyong gawin para maisulat nyo itong bahagi ng abstract ninyo. So kung titignan natin at lalagyan na natin ng number itong mga bahagi ng abstract, meron tayong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at 7 bahagi. We have 7 parts that should guide you in writing the research abstract. So palagi nyo lang tatandaan itong mga bahagi na ito. So ano-ano yung mga parts ng abstract ninyo? The title, you just present the title itself. Kung ano yung title ng research paper ninyo. But there is a proper way of presenting the title in the research abstract. Mamaya, meron tayong sample that we will be using to serve as a reference for these parts para ma-compare natin. Doon ba sa sample natin nakita itong mga parts na ito? But before we go on to that, let's continue. After the title, you have the background. Again, the description and yung steps nandito sa kanang bahagi ninyo. Dadaanan natin yun mamaya. And then after that, the objective or purpose of your study, the method that you used in your study, the findings of your study, the conclusions of your study, and the keywords that you used in your study. Again, the description of these particular parts are as follows. So pag sinabing title, concise and informative title that reflects the research's focus. So dito ang ilalagay nyo lang, sabi ko nga, as is, copy-paste nyo lang kung ano yung title ng inyong research paper. We are not going to go through the steps because this is already self-explanatory. We are just going to go through the description of each part of this research abstract. So after writing the title, the background is now defined as a brief explanation of the research problem and its context. Ibig sabihin, yung mga elemento, yung mga bahagi na may kinalaman doon sa research na ginagawa ninyo. Sino yung respondents ninyo, saang school ginawa, ganun lang. Okay? So that is already part of the background of the study. Again, this is part of the research abstract. Next part, the objective or purpose of your study. State the researcher's main objective or purpose. The objective of the study is to identify the effect of gano. Usually, you can find this in the general problem, which is part of your statement of the problem. So, aside from that, if you want to paraphrase or simplify that, then you can also do that. You can also paraphrase the general problem located in your statement of the problem. The next part, number 4, methodology. So methodology, what you need to do is to describe the research design and method that you use in the study. Ganun lang, i-present nyo lang kung ano yung method na ginamit ninyo kasama doon sa design na kaakibat ng method. Okay, next. After that, the results or findings of your study, this should present the key findings. If you have a lot of findings or results in your study, again, you can summarize and paraphrase these findings so that you can present a general finding dito sa abstract ninyo. So kung marami yan, 3, 4, 5, maybe you can generalize these findings and then present that in your abstract. Pero to the point na hindi naman mawawala yung mga significant findings, kailangan mabanggit nyo pa rin. Kaya lang, i-generalize nyo, pag-iisahin nyo na kung ano yung findings ng inyong study. Okay, the next part, number 6, conclusion. State the main conclusions drawn from the result. So again, my advice, kapag kayo nagsusulat ng conclusion, generalize the conclusion. So present a conclusion that is significant, relevant, and that has bearing, yung merong malaking epekto doon sa mga respondents ng inyong study or sa beneficiaries ng inyong study. So the last part is keywords. These are just listahan ng relevant keywords usually found in your research title that helps in identifying the study's main focus. So again, I mentioned earlier that most of these keywords can be found or should be reflected doon sa inyong research title. Yung mga variables sa research title ninyo, isama nyo dito sa keywords. So ang keywords hindi yan madami. 3 hanggang 5 is already sufficient for the keyword. So it is already reflected here. And then the last one, reminder, it's essential to keep the abstract concise, specific, and to the point, typically ranging from 150 to 250 words. 150 words can fit in one page. So if you go beyond 150 words using the standard format, which is double space, you will have to consume another page, which is the second page. So your abstract should be at least 1 to 2 pages only for the standard abstract. So if you go beyond that, if you have an abstract na 3 pages, hindi na ano yan, abstract, kasi ang dami ng babasahing information ng panel ninyo kung sila yung magbabasa ng inyong manuscript. Okay, to continue, make sure the abstract accurately represents the main elements of your research. The elements are already presented here, hanggang 7 elements, and attracts the reader's attention. Kaya kung napakahaba niyan, mabobore yung mga readers ninyo, to encourage them to read the full paper. So ang abstract serves as an appetizer, an introduction to your full paper. Okay, so you have to get the attention of your reader through the abstract. Kailangan makuha niyo yung interest nila. Kaya kapag yan ay napakahaba, magkakaroon na kayo ng problema in retaining the attention of your readers. Now, I also mentioned earlier that we will be presenting a sample of this abstract. So going to our sample, This is the sample abstract that I was talking about. So as you can see, the title is clearly stated together with the researcher and other informations relevant to the researcher. So you have the title represented by the letter T, and this is the title. Okay, and then the objective of the study is also presented in the first paragraph. Actually, this is the objective, and together with the objective, the writer also presented the background of the study. So, aside from the objective, the background of the study was also presented. Okay, so as you can see, you don't need to present or write your abstract in a manner that would still have technical terms. Hindi nyo kailangan isulat ang inyong abstract sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng mga salita na mabulaklak. Kaya nga sabi doon sa description, it should be concise. It should be to the point. Okay? So ito, ang halimbawa noong description na binasa natin kanina. Now, the next paragraph states the method and design that was used in the study. Method and design. Okay? So the research method and design that was used in the study is presented on this particular paragraph. The study employed a quasi-experimental design, and then after that, the type of test that was used was also presented here together with the name of the school and the grade level of the students. So again, the method and design is concisely presented here. So if you want to be specific, since quasi-experimental is obviously considered as quantitative, you can also include quantitative in this particular description. So hindi niya binanggit yung method, which is quantitative. So again, since quasi-experimental is already considered quantitative, the research writer decided not to include that already in this particular discussion. The next part, the next paragraph. So this particular paragraph presents the findings of the study. Okay, and the next paragraph presents the conclusion of the study. So again, if you're going to read through the manuscript, specifically the research abstract, maiksi niya lang present. So for the findings of the study revealed that the strategy, which is math talk, and the class that did not use the strategy can help the students learn mathematics. So meaning, ang findings niya, whether you use the strategy or not, it helps students learn mathematics. Actually, this can already also fall under the category of a conclusion. But aside from that, math talk, this is the main finding, can enhance the mathematics performance of students better than non-math talk. So, findings and at the same time, again, a conclusion on this particular part. In addition, the learning gain of the math talk group, the one who used the strategy in learning mathematics, was higher. Another findings of the study, the learning gain of the non-math talk group, or compared to the learning gain of the class that did not use the strategy in mathematics. Thus, so this is the summary or the generalization of the conclusion. The study recommended that math talk can be used as a strategy in teaching mathematics for the continuous improvement of the proficiency level in mathematics. Again, aside from conclusion, this can also be a general statement for a recommendation. So maliban sa conclusion, pwede ring i-take yan as a recommendation. But again, this is also classified as a conclusion. And the last part, if you remember from the template guide that I presented earlier is what we call the keywords. So the keywords used here is only math talk and inquiry based. So if you're going to count all of these words, this will have a total of 130 words. So this is what a 130 word abstract looks like that fits on a single page. So aside from this, based from our discussion, it should be at least 150 to 250 words. You can still add beyond this, just as long as you follow the guideline with regard to the elements that we presented. So, pwede nyo pang dagdagan ito dahil ito ay 130 words pa lang. So, at least makaabot kayo dun sa 150 words or beyond. And because of that, you can still, I believe, you can still add or improve some parts of your abstract based from the example that we are using. Again, I would like to thank the owner of our abstract for sharing this particular part of their manuscript. So, with this, I would like to again thank everyone for joining our discussion with regard to the updated template guide in writing the research abstract. And I hope that you would also help your fellow students who are in the process of writing the research paper by sharing your knowledge, your realizations after watching this video. Tulungan po natin yung mga kaklase natin, kaibigan natin, kagroup natin sa ating research writing para hindi lang kayo ang nabibigyan ng kalinawan sa pagsusulat ng iba't ibang bahagi ng inyong research, kundi pati yung mga kapwa nating mga estudyante. Thank you very much, everyone. Stay safe, God bless, and I will see you again in our next video discussion.